Hey, welcome to the channel. So today I want to go through a 75,000 mile review of our Tesla Model 3. This is an in-depth review of my personal 2019 Tesla Model 3 all-wheel drive. For some background, I bought this car back in September of 2019 and took delivery on October of 2019. This car was priced at $47,990 and this was the base variant of the all-wheel drive. I was actually deciding between white and red. While both were an extra cost at the time, when I actually bought the car, the white became the free color, which made my choice a lot easier, and we went with the white. This was my first Tesla purchase, and it's been a great car. Now that we're 4 years and a few months later, and at 75,000 miles, I wanted to let you know my thoughts on this car as a daily driver for all of that time. We'll talk about battery life, the maintenance, the charging, the cost of ownership, issues that we've had, and any wear and tear in this video. The first thing I kind of want to talk about, a lot of people ask this question, battery degradation. So the mileage new was around 310 miles of range estimated back when I bought the car. That was in 2019, and now the car is getting around 280 miles of range estimated in the winter time. It's 2024, so it's a little bit less than 10% reduction. The range was held around 290 to 280 depending on if it was the summer or the winter time. It fluctuates. But I did also recently bought the acceleration boost just last year, which did kind of cap that max up to about 285 estimated miles of range. My charging habits were pretty simple. The car's been used supercharging about 10% of the time according to TeslaFly, which I do want to point out that may be a little bit high, and the reason for that is because I didn't have TeslaFly on this car for about 15,000 miles. Okay, real quick, I forgot to mention, so supercharging was about 10% of the total amount of charging, but the other 90% of charging was pretty much done at home. So my charging habits were charging to about 80% on a daily basis, and then I would drive to work, come back. I tried to follow the ABCs or always be charging, so my charging was always set to 80%. I would drive down to about 60 to 50% depending on the day, and then I would charge back up to 80% every day. Once we got the second Model Y, the charging habit did change a little bit. So for the last, say, 15 to 20,000 miles, it's changed to where we now charge about every other day instead. So I drive anywhere from charge it to 80%. I usually get it down to 40 or 30% depending on how much I've driven, and then plug in the night before. And then you just plug in at nighttime like you would your telephone, and you always have a full charge when you wake up in the morning. It's the greatest thing ever. So you can see in the map here that we missed some of the long trips, so I made an adjustment to show all the even the long range trips added in here. Now let's talk about efficiency in miles per charge. So the lifetime efficiency of this car
is at 278.
So the efficiency of this car has increased recently because of the acceleration boost, but mostly throughout the whole lifetime of this car, we've seen around 270 watt hours per mile. Acceleration boost does give you a lot more acceleration, so that efficiency does go down a little bit, closer to 285 watt hours per mile now. That's really good charging costs. So at home we're charging 13 cents per kilowatt hour, and you can see that has cost me about $2,400 over the lifetime of the car. And then supercharging 45 cents on average kilowatt per hour, we spent around $926. If you were to say the savings from the Ford Escape that I went from with the mileage that I'm using, 20 miles per gallon, economy at $2 a gallon, fuel economy, which we know over the last 4.5 years hasn't really been the actual price. The average is more likely $3 in range. We saved about $4,000 in fuel compared to that car, which means I would have kept driving the Ford Escape. I would have spent about 2.5 times the actual money on fueling. The reality is it's probably somewhere closer to 2.7 times. Maintenance and cost. So maintenance is really cheap in the Tesla. So we've changed the air cabin filter once. We've also, that was around 25,000 miles. It cost me about $17. We also replaced the tires around 40,000 miles of range. These tires were about $912 to get all 4 of them replaced and balanced. Windshield wiper blades, once a year I tend to do this, right before the summertime usually. They're $54, so 3 times I've done that, $162. And we had to replace the 12-volt battery around 50,000 miles. It was just under 50,000 miles, and it was covered under warranty, so Tesla came out to the house and replaced that for free. So let's talk about warranty issues. So I did have some warranty issues. At the very beginning, we had an FM radio go out. We also had the rear seats that we got fixed under a, just free from Tesla. There was some rattles that we got corrected. Then the front control arms. So I want to make the comment about the front control arms. This has been a standard issue for a lot of the Tesla Model 3s early on in their life. Usually has this issue around 30 to 40,000 miles. You'll start getting this creaking when you're reversing in slow motion. And just like creaking when you're going over really slow bumps and things. Tesla did replace both of them, although only had one making the creaking sound, out of good faith, and it was all done under warranty. Been a couple of recalls as well, but all of those have been done with software updates except for the rear trunk cable, which they fixed here in Colombia pretty easily. Some questions that pop up: would you recommend getting the extended warranty? And I don't really think I would, because most of these issues that happen, they happened before the factory warranty happened. The 12-volt battery happened before, so, and I really haven't had any issues after 50,000 miles. I've only put 25,000 since then, but so far the car seems to be handling it really well once we got some of those initial things done. Again, early Model 3. So I wanted to talk a little bit about living with the Tesla Model 3. So we started out with just 2 dogs with us, and now we've got a little boy. So it has changed how you live with the car. So going through that, first we had my wife and the 2 dogs. We made trips on many vacation destinations that were several hours away, spent weeks with them, and we'd travel with them in the back seat with a seat cover. Dog mode on the car makes it really great so that you can easily go spend time, just the 2 of you, and leave the dogs in the car. We actually used dog mode once while we went into some caverns, and we were in there for about an hour and a half, and we came back and the dogs actually were sleeping in the back seat. And it's even better now because now you can actually access the camera that's in the front of the car facing into the back seat, so you can actually peek in on your pups while you're away. We've also done this before, at a brewery before, where we went and the dogs weren't allowed in the brewery at the time. The dogs stayed in the car. When we got back, they were just hanging out, sleeping basically. We woke them up when we got back to the car. It's a really great thing. And then you can easily travel with dogs in the back seat because there's so much room in the trunk and underneath the sub trunk, and then you got the front as well. And so then the baby came along, and then we also have the 2 dogs. And that's where things got a little bit too small. So we did get the Tesla Model Y for that. I would say that's a little bit better for that because the dogs can go in the back of the Y. You can also still fit some luggage there while the baby's in the back seat. There's a lot of really deep front and things like that. But so the Model 3 with 2 dogs and a baby, probably a little small. 2 babies probably would work. But with the 2 dogs and the baby, it makes it a little bit harder. Now I will say, once the kid is a little bit older and you're not having to take a pack and play and coolers and strollers and all that kind of stuff, the kid may actually fit in the Model 3 well with dogs because then you're not taking quite as much with you. But if you've had a young baby, you know that you have to take basically everything and the kitchen sink. So software updates, let's talk about that a little bit. There's been a lot of software updates since buying this car. When I very first week of having it, I got an acceleration boost for free. It did speed up the car's acceleration a little bit. There was a large number of games added. There was music apps such as Spotify and Apple Music, video that had Netflix and YouTube and Disney Plus. There's also been cameras that have been added onto the sides when you reverse and use your turn signals. You can also, the ability to look at those cameras in the app when you're away from the car. the ability to add multiple stops to navigation. There's ability to lower the volume notification sounds, Joe mode as it's called. There's a speaker on the front of the car, and they've utilized software updates to make music so it can blow through there, or fart sounds. The dog mode that I spoke with, cameras, and also dash cam with all those cameras. There's also been light shows at Christmas time, and then there's been several UI updates as well to the screen to make it just a little bit more user friendly and refined. And every time there's a new Model 3 or Model Y that comes out, your car gets those same updates, so they look exactly the same as a brand new car as far as the software UI goes. And it takes years before they really stop updating that. The exterior has held up really well. We've got a couple of scratches on the sides. We've got a couple of dings here and there from car door dings, but mostly it's held up okay. And we also got paint protection film on the front of the car, so a lot of that's been protected. Although driving this mainly on the interstate, we have gotten some nicks and dings that even got through the paint protection film. I would recommend paint protection film on a Tesla Model 3 or Model Y just because it is such a large painted front surface that does get hit often with rocks and stuff. So in conclusion, the Tesla Model 3 has been by far one of the best cars I've ever owned for myself. I've owned a lot of great vehicles like Tacomas and Jeeps and Infinitis, Fords, Mazdas. It's by far one of the best cars I've ever owned. I think it is such a good and sporty, quick, fun, comfortable, convenient ride that I've just really enjoyed it. I keep wanting to look into buying another vehicle, like a truck, or an SUV for myself again, but then I think how I would miss this car. It's been so good, and I really love driving it every day. It's a lot of fun to just drive if you enjoy it. Um, I hope that this video was a little bit informational. Please leave a comment down below if there's anything else you want me to cover on my Model 3. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video and you think I deserve it, as well as subscribe to the channel where I'll keep coming up with content with electric cars, our Teslas, long range, as well as our Model Y. I'll be coming out with a 15,000 mile warranty. So thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.